I had bought a house without telling anyone, until I found my parents and my brother walking in as if they owned the place. My brother looked at me and said, "This works. I'll move in this weekend." So I changed all the locks and waited for Sunday. I'm 26 years old. I've been working since I was 16, saving every paycheck from 2 jobs through college. This house cost me $340,000, and every single dollar of that down payment came from my own account. My older brother is 31 and has never held a job longer than 4 months. I didn't tell my family I was buying a house because I knew exactly what would happen. They'd have opinions. They'd want to help pick it out. And somehow my brother would end up living there. When I came home that Tuesday afternoon, I saw their car in my driveway. My heart sank. The front door was unlocked. I walked in and found all 3 of them standing in my spare bedroom. My mom was measuring the walls with a tape measure. My dad was looking out the window, nodding approvingly, and my brother was lying on the floor with his arms behind his head, staring at the ceiling like he was already planning his furniture arrangement. "Perfect," my mom said when she saw me. "Your brother's going through a tough time right now. His roommate kicked him out and he needs a fresh start. You have all this extra space." I just stood there. "How did you get in?" My dad shrugged like it was nothing. "We told your realtor we were family. She was so sweet. Let us make a copy of the key before you even closed. We wanted to surprise you and help you move in." My brother sat up, grinning. "Seriously, little bro, this room is perfect. I'll move in this weekend. I can probably chip in like $200 a month once I find something." I looked at my mom. She had that expression on her face, the one that said, "You're going to say yes, because family helps family." I didn't argue. I just nodded slowly, grabbed my laptop bag, and left. That night, I called a locksmith. He came out at 7 o'clock a.m. the next morning. $280 for complete lock replacement on the front door, back door, and garage. Best money I ever spent. Then I called my friend who manages rental properties. "I need a fake lease," I told him. "Something that looks official. Dated for next Monday." He laughed. "What are you up to?" "Protecting my house from my family." "Say no more. I'll email it in an hour." I printed it out, signed it, and put it in a folder on my kitchen counter where anyone could see it. Sunday morning came. I made coffee and waited. At 9:47 a.m., I heard the rumble of a U-Haul truck pulling into my driveway. I looked out the window. My brother was driving. My parents followed in their sedan. They backed the truck up to my walkway. My brother hopped out, old key in hand, looking confident. I watched through the living room window as he walked up to the front door and slid the key into the lock. It didn't turn. He tried again, jiggled it. Nothing. I heard him curse. He tried a third time, forcing it. Then he stepped back, confused. My mom got out of the car. "What's wrong?" "The key doesn't work." My dad joined them. "Let me try." Same result. Nothing. Then my mom started pounding on the door. "Open this door right now. We know you're in there." I waited another 30 seconds, let the panic build. Then I opened the door halfway, keeping my body in the frame so they couldn't push past me. "What's going on?" my mom demanded. "Why doesn't the key work?" "I changed the locks," I said calmly. My brother's face turned red. "What? Why would you do that?" "Because this is my house. I didn't give you permission to have a key, and I definitely didn't give you permission to move in." My mom's voice went shrill. "We talked about this. Your brother needs help." "No," I said. "You talked about it. You decided. You didn't ask me." My dad finally spoke up, his voice tired. "Son, be reasonable. He's your brother." I looked at my brother. He was standing there with his arms crossed, entitled as always, waiting for me to cave like I always did. I held the door halfway and told all 3 of them that this conversation was over. My brother walked back to the truck. My parents got in their car. Nobody said goodbye. The U-Haul pulled away, and my driveway was empty. I went back inside, sat on my kitchen floor, and let out a breath I felt like I'd been holding for years. I cooked dinner, watched something mindless, and went to bed before 10. At 2:17 a.m., I woke up to a sound. I lay still and listened. It was coming from downstairs, slow and deliberate, the kind of sound a house makes when someone inside it is trying not to be heard. I reached for my phone. Then the kitchen light clicked on, the thin line of it visible under my bedroom door, and I heard footsteps stop directly on the other side of it. I grabbed my phone and started pulling up 911, my finger hovering over the call button. My door wasn't locked. I hadn't even thought to lock my bedroom door in my own house. The footsteps shifted, and I heard the creak of weight settling on the hardwood just outside. Then, a voice. "I know you're awake." My brother. I sat up, adrenaline turning to anger so fast it made my hands shake. I threw the covers off and yanked the door open. He was standing there in a hoodie and jeans, hands in his pockets, looking startled for maybe half a second before his face smoothed out into that same casual confidence he'd had his entire life. "How the hell did you get in here?" I said. He held up a key between 2 fingers, dangling it like a trophy. "Relax. I went back to the realtor before you changed the locks. Told her I needed a backup copy for emergencies. You know, in case you locked yourself out or something." I stared at him. "You told her what? That I was your brother? And I needed a spare." "She didn't even hesitate, man. Super sweet lady." He shrugged, like this was the most reasonable thing in the world. "I figured it'd be good to have. Turns out I was right. You broke into my house. I didn't break in. I used a key. He stepped past me into the hallway, glancing around like he was appraising the place. Look, I'm not here to fight. I just want to talk. At 2 in the morning. You wouldn't answer my calls. He turned back to me, and his tone shifted. Softer now. Almost reasonable. I get it. You were pissed on Sunday, but I've had time to think, and I have a real plan this time. I didn't say anything. I just stood there, arms crossed, waiting. $400 a month, he said. Not $200. $400. I start at a warehouse next week. It's basically a done deal. The guy's a friend of a friend. And I can pay you first and last month up front once I get my first check. He paused, reading my face. I'm serious. I'm not trying to mooch. I just need a place to land while I get my shit together, and you've got the space. It makes sense. It makes sense, I repeated. Yeah, it does. He looked at me like I was the one being unreasonable. And honestly, dude, Mom's been a wreck since Sunday. Dad's blood pressure has been through the roof. They think you're shutting them out over nothing. This isn't nothing. I know, he said quickly. I know it's not. But the way you handled it, locking us out, embarrassing me in front of them, it came off harsh, man. That's all I'm saying. You could have just talked to me. I felt something tighten in my chest. He was good at this. He'd always been good at this. Reframing things so that I was the problem. So that setting a boundary was the same as starting a fight. Like I was being unreasonable for not wanting someone to just walk into my life and take whatever they wanted. Get out, I said. His expression didn't change. Come on, don't be like that. Get out of my house. I'm trying to have a conversation. Now! He stared at me for a long moment, and I watched him decide whether to push or retreat. He chose retreat. He held up both hands, palms out, and back toward the stairs. All right, fine, but think about it, okay? $400 a month. That's more than fair. I followed him down to the front door and watched him leave. He didn't look back. I locked the door behind him, then stood there in the dark, my heartbeat still pounding in my ears. I looked down at my phone. It was 2:34 a.m. I didn't sleep the rest of that night. I sat on my couch with every light in the house on, replaying the conversation in my head. The way he'd said, "It makes sense," like it was obvious. Like my house was just another resource he could tap into whenever he needed it. The next morning, I called the realtor. It took 3 tries before she picked up. Hi, this is about the house on Maple Street, I said. The one I just closed on. Oh, yes. Congratulations again. Is everything okay? Did you give my brother a copy of the key? There was a pause. Well, yes. He said it was for emergencies. He seemed very genuine, and I thought, you thought what? I kept my voice level, but I could feel the anger building behind it. That it was okay to give someone access to a property I own without asking me first? He said he was family. I don't care what he said. It's my house, not his. Mine. Her tone shifted, defensive now. I understand you're upset, but I didn't think a single copy would be harmful. And technically, there are liability issues here. If something had happened and you were unreachable. Stop, I said. I'm not interested in your liability concerns. I'm telling you that what you did was unacceptable. Don't ever give out my keys again. I hung up before she could respond. My hands were shaking. I set the phone down and took a breath. Then I Googled locksmiths near me. By 3 p.m. that same day, a different locksmith was at my house installing a keypad deadbolt on the front door. He was an older guy, probably in his 50s, with a tool belt that looked like it had been through a war. You want the master code and a guest code? He asked. Just a master code, and show me how to change it whenever I want. He nodded, didn't ask questions, and got to work. He showed me how to program it, how to set temporary codes if I ever needed to, how to disable the whole thing remotely if I needed to. The bill came to $309. I paid it without blinking. Best $390 I ever spent. That night, my mom called. I saw her name on the screen and almost didn't answer, but I knew that if I didn't, she'd just keep trying, so I picked up. Do you have any idea what you've done? She said. No greeting, just straight into it. Hi, Mom. Your brother has nowhere to go. His roommate won't take him back. He's been staying on a friend's couch for 3 days, and that friend just told him he has to leave by the weekend. That's not my problem. How can you say that? Her voice cracked, and I hated the sound of it. He's your brother. He's family. And you have a whole house with extra bedrooms, and I won't even what? Let him move in without asking me? Let him treat my house like it's his? He made a mistake. He knows that. But you're punishing him for it. And you're punishing all of us. I closed my eyes. Mom, I'm not punishing anyone. I'm protecting something I worked for. You've become someone I don't recognize, she said quietly. I don't know when that happened, but it did. And it's sad. I didn't respond. I just stood there in my kitchen, phone pressed to my ear, listening to her breathe on the other end. After a few seconds, she hung up. I set my phone on the counter and stared at it for a while. Then I went upstairs, took a shower, and went to bed. 3 days later, my dad texted me. It was short, practical, the way he always communicated when things got tense. Your brother's staying with your cousin for 2 weeks. Can we have dinner? Just to talk. No ambush. I read it twice. looking for the angle. I didn't find one. My dad wasn't like my mom or my brother. He didn't manipulate, didn't twist things. If he said it wasn't an ambush, I believed him, or at least I wanted to believe him. I texted back. When? Friday, 6:30, Roselli's. Roselli's was the Italian place we used to go to when I was a kid. Quiet, dimly lit, red vinyl booths and breadsticks in a basket. Neutral ground. Okay, I wrote. Friday came. I got there at 6:25, parked in the back, and walked in through the side entrance. I scanned the dining room and saw my dad sitting in a booth near the window, alone. Relief hit me first. Then I walked closer and saw my mom and my brother sitting across from him. I stopped. My brother looked up and gave me this little smile like he knew exactly what I was thinking. My mom's face was unreadable. My dad glanced at me, and for just a second, I saw something. Guilt, maybe? Or resignation. It was impossible to tell if he'd known this was the plan all along, or if he'd been used the same way I had. Either way, I was standing there now, and all three of them were looking at me. I almost turned around and left, but my dad gestured to the empty seat beside him, and something in me, some old instinct to not make a scene, to just sit down and deal with it, made me walk over. I sat down. I didn't take my jacket off. My brother slid a piece of paper across the table. It was a printed budget plan. I could see line items. Rent, utilities, groceries, phone bill. Everything was color-coded. At the bottom, in bold, it said, $400 month to younger brother. I wanted you to see I'm serious, he said. I've thought this through. I'm not asking for a handout. I'm offering a real arrangement. I looked at the paper, then at him. You ambushed me. We wanted to talk to you, my mom said. And you wouldn't answer our calls, because I didn't want to have this conversation. You don't get to just shut us out, she said, her voice rising slightly. We're your family. I looked at my dad. He was staring down at his water glass, turning it slowly in his hands. He didn't say anything. Dad, I said, did you know they were going to be here? He looked up at me. I thought it would help if we all talked. That's not what I asked. He didn't answer. I reached into my wallet, pulled out a 20 and a 10, and set them on the table. Then I stood up. Wait, my brother said. I didn't wait. I walked out of the restaurant, got in my car, and drove home. My hands didn't start shaking until I was halfway there. I gripped the steering wheel tighter and focused on the road. When I got home, I sat in my car in the driveway for 10 minutes before I went inside. The next week, my brother started showing up at my house. The first time, I pulled into my driveway after work, and he was sitting on my front steps. He didn't try to come inside. He just sat there, hands folded, looking up at me like he was waiting for something. You need to leave, I said. He didn't argue. He stood up, shoved his hands in his pockets, and walked to his car, but he didn't leave right away. He sat in the driver's seat for a few minutes, engine off, just watching me through the windshield. Then he started the car and drove away. The second time, I didn't say anything. I just unlocked my door, went inside, and closed it behind me. I watched through the window as he sat there for another 5 minutes, then left. The third time, he was sitting there with takeout. 2 bags from this Chinese place we used to go to as kids, back when things were simpler, and I didn't know yet how much of myself I'd have to give up to keep the peace. He set one of the bags on the step and left the other one beside it. He didn't say a word. He just looked at me, nodded once, and walked away. I left the food on the step. By the next morning, it was gone, probably taken by an animal or a neighbor. I didn't care. By the 4th or 5th visit, I'd stopped counting. They blurred together. Sometimes he brought things. Coffee, a book he thought I'd like, a pack of batteries because he'd noticed my garage door opener was acting up. Other times, he just sat there. He was never aggressive, never angry, just persistent. Like if he showed up enough times, I'd eventually wear down and let him in. One evening, I was making dinner and looked out my window. I saw him talking to my neighbor, Linda. She's in her 60s, lives 2 doors down, always waves when I pull in. They were standing by her fence, and he was smiling, gesturing with his hands, completely relaxed. She laughed at something he said. Then he glanced back at my house, just for a second, and I realized what he was doing. He was building a narrative, the wronged brother, the reasonable one, the one who just wanted to reconnect while his younger brother acted cold and unreasonable. I watched them talk for another minute, then I closed the blinds. A week later, I got a call from HR. Hi, this is Diane from Human Resources. Do you have a minute? I was at my desk halfway through an email. Sure, what's going on? We received a complaint that you've been making threats toward a family member. It was filed anonymously, but it mentioned your name specifically, and we're required to follow up on anything that could indicate workplace conduct issues. I set my pen down. What kind of threats? The complaint didn't specify. It just said there was concern for someone's safety. I'm calling to get your side of things. I took a breath and explained everything. The house, the locks, the late-night break-in, the restaurant ambush, the visits. Diane listened without interrupting, and when I finished, she was quiet for a moment. Okay, she said finally. I'll make a note of this. It doesn't sound like a workplace issue, but if anything escalates, please let us know. I will. I hung up and stared at my computer screen. My brother had done this. I knew it. He'd called my job, stayed anonymous, and tried to make me look unstable. Tried to make it seem like I was the problem. I opened a new document on my laptop and started writing. Every date I could remember, every visit, every text, every voicemail, every conversation. The realtor, the restaurant, the neighbor, the HR call. I wrote it all down, time-stamped everything I could verify, and when I was done, I saved it in 3 places: my laptop, a USB drive, and the cloud. That night, I drafted a letter. Typed, dated, specific. I didn't use legal language because I'm not a lawyer, but I made it clear enough that anyone reading it would know I wasn't guessing. This letter serves as formal notice that you are not welcome at my home or workplace. Any further contact, whether in person, by phone, or through third parties, will be considered harassment. If this continues, I will file for a restraining order. I printed 2 copies. I mailed one to my brother by certified mail the next morning. I kept the other in a folder with my documentation. I didn't tell my parents. They'd find out when they found out. 11 days later, just before midnight, I heard a car door slam in my driveway. I was in bed, reading. I set my book down and listened. Footsteps, uneven, heavy. Then a voice, loud and slurred, aimed at my front door. "You think you're so much better than me?" My brother. I got up, went to the window and looked down. He was standing in the middle of my driveway, swaying slightly, yelling at my house. "You think just because you bought a house that you're somebody? You're nobody, man. You've always been nobody." A light turned on 2 houses down, then another across the street. All I wanted was a place to stay. That's it. But no, you had to make it this whole big thing. You had to humiliate me. You had to turn mom and dad against me. I grabbed my phone and called 911. The dispatcher answered on the second ring. "There's someone yelling outside my house," I said, keeping my voice low. "It's my brother. He's intoxicated and I have a no-contact notice filed against him. Is he trying to get inside?" "Not yet, but he's not leaving." "Okay, stay inside. Officers are on their way." I stayed at the window and watched. My brother was sitting on the curb now, head in his hands. He wasn't yelling anymore. He just looked, I don't know, tired maybe, broken. For a second, I almost felt bad. Then I remembered the 2 a.m. break-in, the ambush at the restaurant, the visits, the HR call, and the feeling passed. The patrol car pulled up 8 minutes later. 2 officers got out. One of them approached my brother, said something I couldn't hear. My brother looked up, gestured toward my house, said something back. The officer shook his head. They talked for another minute, and then the officer motioned for my brother to stand. He did, slowly, unsteady on his feet. I went downstairs and opened the front door. One of the officers walked over. "You the homeowner?" "Yeah." "You know this individual?" "He's my brother. I have a written notice of no contact that was served to him by certified mail." I held up my phone. "I also have documentation of prior harassment. Can you send that to me?" I forwarded the file right there. The officer glanced at his phone, scrolled through it, nodded, then walked back to my brother. They talked for another minute. I couldn't hear what was being said, but I saw my brother's posture change, shoulders slumping, head dropping. Then the officer pointed toward the street, and my brother walked to his car. He got in, started the engine, and drove away. The officer came back to my door. "He's been told to leave and not return. If he shows up again, call us immediately. You might want to consider filing for a restraining order." "I'm planning on it," I said. "Good. Do you feel safe tonight?" "Yeah, I'm fine." He nodded. "All right, we'll file a report. You should receive a case number by email within 24 hours. I thanked him, went back inside, and locked the door. I sat on my couch for a while, listening to the silence, and then I went back to bed. I didn't sleep much. The next morning, I was at the courthouse when it opened. I filled out the forms for a civil harassment restraining order. The clerk walked me through it, explained what I needed to include, told me there'd be a hearing. I submitted everything and walked out 2 hours later with a court date 3 weeks away. I went to work, answered emails, sat through meetings, and didn't tell anyone what was happening. When I got home that night, I made dinner, ate it standing at the counter, and went to bed early. A week later, the hearing date arrived. I got to the courthouse early, sat in the waiting area, and went over my notes. At 9:50, my brother walked in with my mom beside him. She was dressed up, hair done, makeup perfect, like she was going to church. She saw me and her face hardened. My brother didn't look at me at all. He was wearing a button-down shirt and khakis, looking more put together than I'd seen him in years. When they called our case, we all walked into the courtroom. The judge was an older man with wire-rimmed glasses and a voice that sounded like he'd heard every story twice already. He asked my brother to state his case first. My brother stood up, hands folded in front of him, looking respectful and calm. "Your Honor, I understand why my brother is upset. I made a mistake by showing up at his house late at night, and I was drinking, which I shouldn't have been. But this was one bad moment. It's not a pattern. And the written notice he sent me, I don't even think that's a real legal document. He's acting like I'm dangerous, and I'm not. I just wanted to talk to him. We're family, and I thought we could work things out." My mom stood up. "Your Honor, May I speak? The judge looked at her. Are you a witness? I'm his mother. I just want to say that my younger son he's always had a hard time with family. He's very independent, which is fine, but he takes it too far. His brother made one mistake, and now he's trying to cut him out of his life completely. It's heartbreaking. The judge looked at me. Your response? I stood up and pulled out my folder. Your Honor, this wasn't one bad moment. It was the culmination of weeks of harassment. I walked him through everything. The break-in, the visits, the neighbor, the HR complaint, the certified letter. I showed him dates, photos, screenshots of text messages, the documentation I'd been building for weeks. My voice stayed calm, factual. I didn't get emotional. I just laid it out, piece by piece. When I finished, the judge looked at my brother. Do you have anything to add? My brother glanced at my mom. She reached over and squeezed his hand. No, Your Honor, he said quietly. The judge reviewed the documents in front of him for what felt like a full minute. Then he looked up. I'm granting the restraining order. 2 years. No contact, direct or indirect. That includes physical presence, phone calls, emails, social media, and third-party communication. He looked at my brother. Do you understand? Yes, Your Honor. Good. We're done here. I walked out of the courtroom and didn't look back. My mom called after me. You're really going to do this? You're really going to destroy this family? But I kept walking. I got to my car, sat in the driver's seat, and let out a breath I didn't know I was holding. That night, my dad sent a text. 3 words. I'm sorry, son. I read it sitting on my couch. The same couch I'd picked out myself, in the house I'd bought with my own money. I set the phone down on the coffee table and stared at the ceiling for a while. I didn't respond. I didn't know what to say. 2 days later, my brother posted something on Facebook. I didn't see it directly. I'd already unfollowed him months ago, but a cousin sent me a screenshot. It was vague, something about being abandoned by the people who are supposed to love you, about how blood doesn't always mean loyalty. It had 43 likes and a dozen comments, all supportive, all telling him they were there for him. My phone started ringing. Aunts, uncles, cousins I hadn't spoken to in years. Some of them were genuinely concerned, asking what happened, if I was okay. Others were accusatory, telling me I'd gone too far, that family is supposed to stick together no matter what. I blocked every number without reading a single message. I didn't owe any of them an explanation. 6 weeks later, I pulled into my driveway after work and sat in the car for a minute. The street was quiet. No one on my steps. No cars I didn't recognize. No brother sitting on the curb waiting for me to feel guilty enough to let him back in. I grabbed my bag, got out, and went inside. My phone rang while I was putting groceries away. My dad. I hesitated, then picked up. Hey, he said. His voice sounded tired, like he'd aged 5 years in the last 2 months. Hey, I wanted to let you know, your brother took that warehouse job. He moved in with your cousin. He's 3 states away now. I didn't say anything. I just stood there, phone pressed to my ear, waiting. I'm not asking you to forgive him, my dad continued, or your mother, or me. I wanted you to know I'm proud of you for building something that's yours, for protecting it. The call lasted 4 minutes. We talked about nothing important, the weather, work, whether I needed help with anything around the house. When it ended, I put my phone face down on the counter and finished making dinner. Thanks for watching till the end. Make sure to like and subscribe to not miss the next story.